Hey there, Dan Garner here, and welcome to the 5-part episode series that I've put together for you on optimizing your blood work. Here at Vitality Blueprint, that's exactly what we do. We want you to be the absolute best version of yourself, and the most objective and precision way to get that done is through high-performance blood analysis. In today's episode, I want to offer you a high-level overview of what it actually means to get blood work done. What is optimal blood work? What is a reference range? What is a biomarker? How are these things going to help you become the best version of yourself? That's what I want for you, and the way in which I can do it in the most effective way is to remove the noise. Look, one thing I can tell you that you already know is that this industry is very, very confusing. You are going to come across a lot of different people that all present themselves as experts, that all speak charismatically and say the things that you want to hear, and they all have great scientific literature to back it up. So who do you choose? Who do you listen to? I want you to listen to yourself from the inside out. You don't want to follow a philosophy. You want to follow your own physiology. And that is how you remove the noise and create clarity and objectivity in an industry that's filled with so many different voices. And hey, this isn't new either. All the way back in the 50s, a man named Ansel Keys that said fat is the thing that is absolutely going to kill you. That is what's going to shorten your lifespan. So everybody have low-fat diets from this point moving forward. But then it moved, well, maybe don't go low fat. Maybe you just have to avoid saturated fats. It's like, okay, well, never mind, more research came out. We can have some saturated fats, but we should probably avoid trans fats. Hold on a second. This whole time we've been on low-fat diets, it's the carbohydrates that have been killing us. You need to go low carb now and actually eat all kind of fats. Wait, no. Well, we're not gonna go low carb. It's just the sugar that is bad for us. Well, maybe it's not the sugar, it's the more isolated fructose that's in the sugar that is bad for us. These trends, they don't reflect your true health, fitness, performance. They don't reflect these things for you from the inside out in the way that your biomarkers do. Your biomarkers are a reflection of exactly who you are, and they avoid the trends. We've gone through all of these different trends and marketing sections, and now one of the most popular things is water fasting. So after being afraid of everything, now we just eat nothing. You can't have anything at all anymore if you want to be healthy and the best version of yourself. It doesn't have to be this way. You don't have to eliminate things. You don't have to be afraid of things. What you need to do is lean into the direction that your body wants to lean into. Blood work is the clarity in the noise. Blood work is what allows you to truly find and optimize a plan built for you so you can get the fastest possible results in the most healthy way in training, nutrition, supplementation, lifestyle, you name it. You can learn so much from your blood work, and that's what we're going to be discussing in the duration of these episode series as well. You're going to learn nutrition interventions based on blood work, supplement interventions based on blood work. You're going to learn training and lifestyle interventions based on blood work. And if I do my job right, you're going to be a master of blood work. You are going to be able to understand it. You're going to be able to talk about it with others. You are going to be able to leverage this tool, which is absolutely the next wave in health and performance because it is undeniably objective. So that begs the question, what is performance-based blood work? What does that even mean? Well, it's the complete opposite of traditional blood work. Traditional blood work is incredibly valuable at really doing two things: identifying infections and identifying disease states. But if you're not interested in these things and you are interested in becoming the absolute best version of yourself in your definition of performance, if that's focus, clarity, attention span, improving your endurance, improving your strength, improving fat loss, or strength enhancement, if this area of development is something that you really want to maximize and use in this life that you got, then that is what performance-based blood work is all about. Look, I have a 3-step vitality scale that you need to know about that's super simple, okay? You've got step 1 here, which is death. You've got 2, which is fake health. And then you have number 3, which is true vitality. Number 1 is death. Pretty easy to understand. This is deceased. You have ceased to live. Number 2 is where 90+% of the population lives. And this is what I've identified as fake health. because this person does not have an active disease state, but they have low energy levels throughout the day. Their ability to stay on task and have a high attention span is low. Their memory recall and ability to translate thoughts into words isn't what their potential truly is. Their ability to drop body fat or build muscle seems like a very slow and drawn out event. They have low libido throughout the day. This person doesn't have an active disease state. But do you want to be this person? Would you set goals to be that person? No, you wouldn't. And unfortunately, health as it's currently defined is the absence of disease. I don't think that way. I don't want you to think that way. I want you to be over here. This is vitality. This is somebody who is vibrating on a different frequency. This is somebody who has the potential to knock out their bucket list. This person wakes up with energy. They have a libido. They want to go attack things. They have an ability to change their body, whether they want to strip off body fat or build muscle. They want to go perform. They can perform. They don't have to think and worry if someone invites them to something. No, they're ready to knock it out. That person is who I am striving to be. That's who you are striving to be. This is the type of prototype that we want to move to in the future. We don't just want to not have bad things. No, we want all the good things. That's what performance blood work is. That's what this is all about. So digging a little bit deeper into blood work, what kind of tests can you get? Well, you can get a complete blood count. This really goes over all your red blood cells, which are great for energy, and your white blood cells, which is great for immunity, recovery, and resilience. You get a comprehensive metabolic panel. These things include electrolytes, which are relevant for hydration. They include different enzymes that are important for metabolism. You can get a hormone panel. This is something that is very, very important for energy, mood, your ability to change your body composition towards the goals that you're after. You can get a lipid profile. These are all the markers that are very important for your cardiovascular health and longevity. There's many different panels that you can get, or you can combine them all, and you can also add a lot of other stuff in order to get a true performance panel. That's what we do here at Vitality. It is not my interest, and it should not be your interest, to get a very small amount of data. Something that I can tell you, having worked with the best performers in the history of the world, I've worked with many all-time world record-breaking athletes, is that quality of data in equals quality of data out. If you only get a small amount of biomarkers, then there's only a small amount of suggestions that you can provide. But if you get a greater amount of biomarkers with an excellent amount of scientific literature behind them, well then quality of data in equals quality of data out. A program design will only ever be as good as the analysis that identified the constraints that we need to remove in order for you to become the best version of yourself. And blood work is the best way to kick this thing off because it provides a full systemic portrait of who you are right now. Blood work is something that is the communication and mailing service for the entire body. So there's a lot of other tests out there, like for example, a stool test. Stool testing is actually getting a lot more popular right now, and it's highly valuable, but its value is quite localized within the gastrointestinal tract. Whereas blood work, its value is localized to any organ system that requires a blood supply, which is all of them. And that's why in one shot you can get brain markers, heart markers, liver markers, kidney markers, immune markers, hormone markers, micronutrient markers, you name it. Blood work is absolutely everywhere. And it's also been in the world of scientific advancement for physiology for the longest period of time. We have many, many, many decades of literature that we can lean on, and conveniently enough, it is representative of your entire physiologic portrait. When you're looking at blood work for performance, the intention that you're after is exactly that, performance. So you're looking at biomarkers through a completely different lens. That is, how am I going to optimize energy? How can I minimize our fatigue accumulation? What can I do in order to increase injury resiliency? You're looking towards many different things, mind and body, to accelerate your progression towards vitality, rather than just try and stay away from these things over here. For example, there is something known as the cortisol to DHEA sulfate ratio. This is a very, very well-established ratio in the scientific literature that is very much your stress versus resiliency balance. You can imagine this thing like a teeter-totter. And then you can begin to imagine if one's stress exceeded the amount of resiliency that they had in order to defeat that on a daily basis. What does that do to your training? What does that do to your focus? What might that do to your sleep? What might that actually look like in the opposite direction when you are way more resilient than you have stressors in your life? You're able to handle anything that comes your way, and we're able to demonstrate this from the inside out. But that same guy, cortisol, he is associated to stress, and stress is non-specific, psychological, emotional, but also physical. So it's very representative of certain training statuses as well. Actually, excellent military research has demonstrated that increases in cortisol and something known as sex hormone binding globulin are very connected to overreaching and overtraining. So if these things begin to climb, you are going to be at a greater risk for developing an injury, under-recovering, increasing your fatigue, not peaking properly for an event. Maybe you want to do an obstacle race. Maybe you have a bucket list of doing a marathon, or maybe you just want to feel great all of the time and have no interest in overtraining or overreaching. These are a couple of biomarkers that you can really lean on in order to stay ahead of the game. Bloodwork is very cool in that way, in that you get past, present, and future representation of who you are, and these things moving in directions that might not possibly serve you allow you to act preventatively rather than reactively. It's like taking the antidote before you're exposed to the poison. You're already ready to rock because you have the action steps in place that are objective and built perfectly for you. Another good example in the department of looking at blood work for performance in a different lens would be something like zinc status in the body. There's actually scientific literature done on case studies in females, and they had zinc deficiencies. And what was identified that if female has a zinc deficiency and then you supplement and include zinc in their dietary regime, her basal metabolic rate, which is your metabolism, increased 900 calories over the course of a 4-month period. 900 calories. I want you to really grab onto that for a second. That is like 3 meals of extra caloric expenditure per day. That is a ton of energy expenditure, calories burned, fat loss. And what would the community basically say? It would be very difficult for her to drop body fat because she actually biochemically has a slow metabolism. She could be perfectly rigid on her diet, and people are going to say, she's not following it. She's not disciplined. And she's like, yes, I am. I swear I am following everything. This is the type of power that Bloodwork can uncover, because maybe you have something holding back your metabolism. Maybe you have something holding back your hormones. Maybe you have something holding back your brain power on a daily basis. These things are out there, and they exist in the scientific literature. This is something that if you are able to identify this, you are able to set up a plan that is much more sustainable. Because can you imagine if she never identified that, how low she would actually have to bring her calories in order to lose body fat? Her metabolism's already extremely slow. And then she would have to drop calories even lower than that in order to burn body fat. That wouldn't be sustainable. That's not true Vitality's definition of health in any sense of the word. We would bring her up to an optimal state of health, and then that is what's going to allow the entire process to unfold so much more seamlessly. To wrap this day up, Bloodwork is the light in the darkness that you've been waiting for. This industry has been too confusing for too long. For you and me both, okay? I have been a coach at a very high level for over 10 years, working with some of the best athletes in the history of the planet in over 12 different professional sports. I needed to find something incredibly objective so that I could get excellent results every single time. And I want to gift all of that knowledge to you so that you can leverage everything that I'm standing upon here at Vitality and use it and point it in any direction that you want to. It's time to get results, and it's time to learn a little bit more, because today we talked about the high level concepts. But in part 2, I want to dive deeper into key markers and optimal reference ranges. In part 3, I want to dive into nutritional interventions based on blood work. On part 4, we're going to add to the nutrition stuff by incorporating training and lifestyle interventions based on your blood work. And then on day 5, I want to talk to you about the art of blood work. So you have to stay tuned for all 5 parts of this series, because the art of blood work interpretation is what makes Vitality different than everything else. We have identified a way to inject art into science. And that is because I have been a coach for the last 10 years, and any coach who gets results will tell you there is absolutely an art to program design. It is not just a science-based thing. You need to have a massive amount of scientific foundation and rigor behind your approach, but true results, true individualization, true identification of patterns that is representative of the person that is in front of you. There is as much art to that as there is science, and there is a very specific way that you need to get that done. So we are going to knock this out over the next 5 parts of this series. You're going to be a master by the end of it, but I'm also going to give you some homework along the way, okay? Your homework for today is to look at your last blood test if you have one. Look at your reference ranges and ask yourself, why are my reference ranges the same as everyone else when I'm not the same as everyone else? And then also look at your results on your blood work. Do you have anything that's like right on the brink of low or right on the brink of high? Do you think that that's optimal? Do you have anything that's trending low or trending high? What are your thoughts on the difference between high and trending high? How is somebody one step away from being considered high, but then one step in and it flags perfectly normal? That's like walking up to a cliff. Walk until your next step is off the cliff. But we probably should have stopped a long way before that, right? These things make sense when you look at them that way. And then number 3 is, do you currently have any associations that you want to improve, but your blood work all came back normal? Do you have low energy? Do you have low libido? Are you struggling with fat loss or muscle building? Are you struggling with brain fog or focus issues? Are you struggling with any type of area of performance that you've defined as performance for yourself, despite having perfectly normal blood work all the time? That's your homework. Take a look at your most recent blood work, ask yourself these questions, and tune in for the next episode.